can't argue that you're the master of a broken system in Washington and that somehow you're best equipped to bring about change. You can't buy into all the conventional wisdom in Washington when it comes to foreign policy, matters as profound as war, and then somehow say you're going to chart a new bold course in our foreign policy. And let's face it, that's not even the argument that you're hearing anymore. These days, some of my opponents seem to be more intent on trying to explain why I shouldn't be president than why they should be president. They don't seem to have anything positive to say about their own record. All they're trying to do is run me down. And that's typical of the Washington playbook. I've even been getting insulted lately about talking about hope. Have you noticed that? Yeah, people they're deriding me about hope. Well, now, look, it's true. I talk about hope all the time. And there's a good reason for it. Because it's very unlikely that I am standing here today. I wasn't born into money and I wasn't born into privilege. I was raised by a single mother. After my father left, my single mom and my grandparents, and they gave me love, they gave me an education, and they gave me hope. And so I do talk about hope. I have hope on my signs. I gave a speech in the 2004 Democratic Convention about hope. I wrote a book called The Audacity of Hope. And so now people seem to suggest that, well, he's so naive. He's talking about hope all the time. He's so idealistic. He's a hope monger. The implication is that if you talk about hope, that you somehow must be passive. You somehow must just be waiting for good things to happen to you, that you're engaging in wishful thinking. That's not what hope is. Hope is not ignoring the challenges that lie before us. Hope is not being ignorant of the roadblocks that stand in your way. Just the opposite. I know how hard it's going to be to provide health care to every American, that the insurance companies, the drug companies are going to fight every inch of the way. I know that. I understand that it's not going to be easy to set up an energy policy that reverses climate change and saves people money in their home heating oil and air conditioning and gas at the pump, because the oil companies and the gas companies, they'll fight it every inch of the way. I know it won't be easy to fix our schools or to reduce poverty. I know these things because I have fought these fights. I have fought in the streets as an organizer with those steel workers who'd been laid off. I fought in the courts as an advocate for those who had been denied opportunity. I have seen good legislation die because good intentions weren't enough, because they weren't fortified by political will, political power. I know how hard change is. But what I also understand is that nothing in this country that's ever been worthwhile has ever happened except a few people were willing to hope. That's how this country was founded. That's how this country is started. You had that's how the colonists took on the British Army and the British Navy, even though it was against all odds, because they hoped. That's how slaves and abolitionists resisted that evil system, and how a president was able to chart a new and difficult course to ensure that this would no longer be a nation that was half slave and half free. That's how the greatest generation, my grandfather fighting in Patton's army in World War II, my grandmother staying behind with a baby, working on a bomber assembly line. That's how the greatest generation defeated fascism and lifted itself up out of a Great Depression. That's how women right to vote. That's how workers won the right to organize. That's why young people traveled south to Selma and to Montgomery and marched and sat in and suffered fire hoses and attack dogs, and some went to jail and some died for freedom's cause. That's what hope is. That's what hope is. Imagining then working and fighting for what did not seem possible before. And that's the moment we have before us here today. And let me make sure I am not just talking to Democrats now, because there are independents and Republicans out there who have also lost faith in government, who also want to see change happen. And sometimes I'm criticized by folks in my own party saying, well, you reach out to people, we don't agree with them. Listen, if you know who you are and you know where you stand and who you are fighting for, then you can afford to reach out to folks who don't agree with you 100%, because we can get 90% agreement on something. That's how you create a majority. That's how you actually win elections. That's how you get something done. That's what I want to do as President of the United States of America. That is the chance that we have right now. That's the chance you have on Saturday at 11 o'clock. There is a moment in the life of every generation that, if it's to make its mark on history, that spirit, that hope, that hard-earned sense of possibility has to shine through. This is our moment. This is our time. And if you are willing to join with me, if you are willing to stand with me and caucus for me, if you are willing to cast aside the fear and the doubt and the cynicism, if you are willing to work with me to remake this country block by block, county by county, state by state, if you believe that the next generation deserves the same chances somebody gave us, if you believe in keeping the dream alive for those who still hunger for justice and still thirst for opportunity, if you are not willing to settle for what the cynics tell you you have to accept, but you are willing to reach higher, to reach for what you know is possible, then I promise you this: we will not just win the Nevada caucus, we will win this nomination, we will win this general election, and together, you and I, we will transform this country and we will transform the world. Thank you, Reno. I love you. Thank you.